Yeah. So I was definitely very skeptical. So I was like really, really hesitant, like not sure. I'm like, this isn't quite legit. Like, yeah, hypnosis is like a real thing that can happen, but like self-hypnosis, like you've got to be kidding me. Well, it's not gonna hurt. It's really not painful. And so I was like, I'll just give it a shot. And then I had a number of really like vivid, beautiful experiences, and it kind of converted me.
Yay! Oh, I love converting. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad you're here today and so excited to share this interview with you. This is Stacie Chadwick, and
Hi.
you are a
I am currently a PhD student at the University of Southern California studying linguistics.
linguistics. I love it. For those of us that don't know anything other than, oh, that's language. What is the study of linguistics?
Yeah, so the study of linguistics is the study of language as a whole. So in linguistics, we don't necessarily study specific languages, rather we kind of look at specific languages to find the larger patterns that we find in all human language. So and then a lot of us have like specialties in different areas about different in different ways that language manifests itself. And so I am I study phonetics and phonology. So I study speech patterns and how they interact with each other, and how those and how we can generalize speech patterns across across languages, and how those and how like speech actually happens for humans. So it's more of a big picture look than just like a single language.
Gotcha. So it's more like human language, period, and
Yes. Yes.
how it has evolved. Do you find that there's a bit of psychology wrapped into it? I know that, for instance, salespeople, they talk a lot about tonality and where to put your inflection so that you're not offensive and you're inviting. And then people are always going, no. There are
Yeah.
definitely different tonality that drives me a little bit
Uh-huh.
wonky.
So yeah, there are a lot of different areas of linguistics that people study. There's psycholinguistics, and so that's like looking at, you know, like actual neurological connections and like where speech happens in the brain, and how that kind of how like the mind and the body kind of work together. And then there's sociolinguistics, which is a little bit more of like what you're talking about, how in certain situations, certain people might need to speak a certain way or use different like tonalities or different speech patterns, or, you know, selecting which words are appropriate for which social situations. So I have a little bit of a background in sociolinguistics. I did some work with a professor back at the University of Utah. So I have a little bit of knowledge about the sociolinguistic stuff too. But yeah, so there's a lot of different facets. Like language is a big, massive like
Yeah.
thing. It's basically, the way I like to think about it is like, you know, humanity would not be where it is. Rome would have never risen and fallen without language.
Right.
We take it for granted all the time, and there are so many complicated like areas to it that it's going to take us a long time to unravel it.
Well, I think that's so interesting you said that, because in my self-hypnosis course, and I will say that I was thinking about you as I launched the language piece, and I was like, ooh, what is she going to think about this? And am I messed up on anything? But the way we talk to ourselves in our minds and communicate with each other does so much to our psyche and our reality. It
Yeah.
absolutely can change our reality. Can you think
Mm-hmm.
of any specific ways, like self-talk, that you've seen or noticed in yourself or in other people, and how what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying. So because I study like speech specifically, I kind of have developed this opinion that and this has kind of just been true in my life personally. This is more of like a personal belief rather than like a scientific fact. But I believe that things don't become real until like speech happens. So like thoughts are just thoughts, and they'll kind of come and go, but those thoughts don't really become like reality until they're like processed through your vocal system, or if someone's hard of hearing, until your motor system using using sign languages and stuff. But I think that language does kind of take its full form once it's expressed in a physical manner. And so how you express it in a physical manner is going to feed back into your brain. And this is actually something that I've been studying a little bit more this semester, is how does that feedback work in our brain? Because your brain doesn't just generate stuff, it has to take new information in and process it, and then give out like revised versions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the way that you speak to yourself or produce language is going to feed back into your brain. That's just kind of naturally how it goes. So whatever you put out, it's going to kind of come back in. And you're going to build on top of that feedback. And so when it comes to like self-talk and stuff, having good positive feedback going out, telling yourself positive things via like written language, spoken language, sign language, it's going to feed back in positive ways as well.
That is, thank you for, I feel so justified isn't the right word.
Validated.
Yes. Thank you. Because I absolutely believe that's right. It's a thought, but when you bring it out, then it's either going to validate the thought or start to tear it apart.
Yeah.
And then it's just going to cycle through and loop. And then it works into your personality and how you show up in the world, and all of those things. Mm-hmm. So you have a very scientific mind.
Yes. To a fault, one could say.
Well, you were a fun challenge, and turned out to be, you were just absolutely great with self-hypnosis. What I found amusing was when you were honest and the way you kind of came out and talked about your thoughts on hypnosis. So just for everybody listening, can you tell me a little bit about what you thought about hypnosis before joining the class, and what maybe shifted?
Yeah. So I was definitely very skeptical. And it mostly just because I was raised having like around homeopathic medicine and stuff. And so like I knew, and I still know that there are like alternatives to stuff, like energy work is like a thing. And I've seen the pros and cons of it. I've kind of seen all sides of like standard medicine versus like alternative medicine and stuff. And so I was like really like suspicious of hypnosis, just because I'm like, is this like another placebo thing? Like sometimes it's just a good placebo effect, and that gets you where you want to go. And so I was like really, really hesitant, like not sure. I'm like, this isn't quite legit. Like, yeah, hypnosis is like a real thing that can happen, but like self-hypnosis, like you've got to be kidding me. And so I was a little hesitant, but because of my like background with alternative medicine, I was like, I can just give it a shot. Like, again, like if with other alternative medicines, maybe it's just a placebo and maybe placebos work. And so I was like, well, it's not going to hurt. And Renee kind of really helped me with that and was like, look, it's not going to hurt you. Like, if anything, I'm just going to talk to you for like an hour, for like a few minutes. And then like, that's going to be it. And
right.
Like, well, I've talked to Renee plenty of times before, so it's really not painful. And so I was like, I'll just give it a shot. And then I had a number of really like vivid, beautiful experiences, and it kind of converted me.
Yay! Oh, I love converting. So I do remember your hesitation, and then also were you one of the ones that said, I don't think I can be hypnotized?
No, I don't think I was one of those people because
Okay.
I had been hypnotized before. Did I tell you I had been hypnotized before?
Maybe sometimes they all run, all those stories run
Yeah,
together.
it's okay. When I was a kid, there was like a festival, like a, you know, like a city festival. Yeah. Like a Independence Day thing or whatever. I don't know. And they had hired like a hypnotist, and this is kind of how I knew that I could get hypnotized really easily. I was one of the few who got hypnotized like really easily, like was on stage. My parents had like no idea where I was. I just kind of ended up on stage, hypnotized, and said and did all these crazy, silly things and made a lot of people laugh. So I had been hypnotized before. It's very fascinating.
That's fun. And I'm glad you brought that up too, because at least probably half of my clients, the only thing they know about hypnosis is the stage hypnotism. Like,
yeah, which is very different.
Going to help me.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah, clinical, except for then you can be hypnotized.
Yeah.
So, one benefit. Self-hypnosis or clinical hypnotherapy is very different. We don't spend. I never asked you to quack like a duck, did I?
Nope, not a single time.
Great. What are your, okay, so without having to divulge everything that was going on in your life, what primary changes did you see experiencing? And just let everybody know, Stacie had, did we do 2 or 3 sessions?
Like privately?
Yeah, one-on-one. I want to say we just did 2.
I think we initially did 2, and then kind of after the class, then we did another session together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you actually joined the self-hypnosis course, right, back when I had it in a group form, and we met bi-weekly. So going through all of that from before till now, what are the biggest differences or changes within yourself?
Yeah, so I was having a lot of health issues, and I knew, even though none of the medical doctors said anything, nobody else really believed me, I knew that it was all stress related. And so I was like desperate to find ways to like reduce my stress or manage my stress, because it was causing me like immense physical pain. And so that was the biggest thing that I was kind of coming to the hypnosis class with, was all of this like physical pain that stemmed from a lot of like emotional pain as well. I was handling, like last semester, I was in the throes of a lot of PTSD, from a really bad relationship. And so the PTSD on top of like the mental stress of being in a new school and, you know, being in a new city, and having all of these like physical, like, these physical repercussions because of my emotional health. It was really, really bad. Like had I not started this work, I probably would have ended up in the hospital again. I'm not gonna lie. Like my health was getting that bad that I probably would have had to been hospitalized again. And now I can sit at my desk. I still have some health issues. I'm still like managing my stress in different ways. But my perspective has totally changed. And I'm definitely a lot happier. I was telling Renee the other day that, like, you know, I tend to like derealize a lot of the time, where you know, because of my trauma, I just like kind of block out reality and like, no, reality is just a dream, so it can't hurt me. But now, because my life has been so great, I derealize, because I'm like, life is too good. I live in too beautiful of a city. I'm like way too happy. This can't be real. This has to be a dream. So kind of like two sides of the same coin.
Right.
Yeah, but it's been a big change for me, for sure. A good positive change.
It's been so exciting to watch the changes.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite thing about teaching and working with students for a number of weeks into months, is seeing the dramatic changes of where you're at and it's like that there's this fog or your blinders on, and there's so much pain and fear and anxiety and whatever is blocking you from seeing clearly. And then all of a sudden, it
Yeah.
disappears and you step into your own power, and it's so fun to see.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now you've got a new fun relationship, huh?
I do. I have a new fun relationship. Still working on some stuff with that. Because new things bring up big feelings. But yeah, I have a new relationship. I'm doing a lot better in school because like I'm in a good headspace with my school, a better relationship, a better mindset about school. My body is slowly but surely healing. And I'm getting on track to being my old self, I guess.
Yeah.
Things are never quite the same, but I've been able to like do yoga and go on walks and like enjoy my body in a way that I hadn't been able to in a long time.
Yeah, that is so great. I wanted to apologize for anybody that is like just let down now because monogamous. She's off the market. But one thing I want to ask you about, because this was such an interesting experience you were going through. You went out to California, so you went all across the country.
Yeah, I moved from Miami to Los Angeles.
Yeah, so before that you were in New York, right?
Yes, I did my master's degree in New York.
Yeah. So coming into this new space and new professors and relationships, engaging things, you had one particular relationship at school that was quite difficult. How is that now?
Yeah, I had one difficult relationship with a professor. And it's much better now. I wouldn't say that we're like the bestest of friends. To be honest, we never really clashed like actually. It was mostly just like I had like a bad feeling about her and I let that kind of get to me and get to my perspective of her. And we had like a negative interaction that like set me on this like little mind spiral that lasted a long time. And now that little mind spiral is resolved. It's fine. And my relationship with this professor is very professional. And my perspective on her has completely changed. So instead of thinking that she's just like the worst human being ever and she like has it against me and I'm never gonna get far in this program because of her, it's the exact opposite. She's just a person. She's doing her best. She has some weird quirks that may not jive with a lot of people. I learned. I talked to I did a lot of work myself on my perspective, but I talked to other people as well. And talking to other people and getting other people's perspectives can really help yours as well.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of like learned more about her, and I was like, she's just a person. She's not a person I have to get along with, but she's like in the end, she's just a person, and she's not gonna like destroy me.
She doesn't stop you in your tracks like she was before.
Yeah.
I love that. And it's all just, she didn't change.
She didn't change at all. She had
Her
no idea that
shifted, and it was all, it'll be fun maybe when you leave California for you to have a chat with her and say, oh my God, in the beginning, this is what, just unravel it. She'll probably find it amusing or introspective. Maybe she's like, oh, is this how I'm coming across? Who knows? But it doesn't matter because you don't have to change other people. That's such a hard concept for people to get. But this person is this and this and this person, this job, this house, this state I'm living in, this president. It's all, let's just take back our power and see what I can do. How can I shift?
Yeah, like moving to Los Angeles was really, really hard for me because a lot of my like PTSD and relationship trauma was associated with this city. Because my horrible toxic ex moved here and is living here. And then I had to move here kind of out of necessity. And so when I moved here, I was terrified to leave my house. I did not want to go anywhere. I did not want to be outside just in case like I would see him or run across him or anything. But I was able, with hypnotherapy, I was able to resolve a lot of that. And I'm not afraid to leave my house. And I love exploring this beautiful city that I live in. Like, I've been able to realize how beautiful Los Angeles is. It's kind of gross a lot of the time. Like, it's still a gross city. I stand by that. But it's absolutely, it has its beautiful moments. And I've loved being able to see that. And it really is, it was just a perspective shift that I needed to feel comfortable where I'm living.
Well, good for you for taking the time and putting in the effort to make that shift. That's awesome. So tell me, what is, out of all of the time we've worked together, what is the silliest or craziest thing that came up or happened, if you're able to share?
I think you remember the black duck situation.
Oh, yes.
I think that was the silliest thing that like happened for me. And I'm trying to remember like all the details.
You had a lot of symbolism.
My brain works really, really heavy with symbolism. And so often in my work, I'll be like talking to like my body and trying to figure out what's wrong. And what's wrong will usually surface as like an object, or in this case, an animal. I had a couple animals surface. But I was working on some stuff for like my digestive system. I'm pretty sure that's usually where it is. And I got this like black duck, and it was just the cutest, most innocent, just adorable black duck in my mind, just this precious thing. But it had attached to it these feelings of like abandonment and like being alone, like all of these deep, like kind of like scary feelings associated with this adorable creature. And so I had like I was able to kind of like resolve those feelings. I like ended up letting the duck fly away with all these other beautiful white ducks, and that kind of like, there was a lot of like symbolism involved. But I remember talking to Renee being like, Renee, what is up with like ducks? Like, why in the world would a duck, of all things, like ducks are supposed to be super cute and fluffy? And we talked a little bit about how ducks are in real life, and ducks are grade A assholes. They're like the worst. Like, I won't go into the details because it can get a little graphic. But if you look into the nature of ducks, you'll find that they are very vicious. They're almost worse than geese. Like, it's bad. And so we like had a chat about it, and I was like, well, now of course a duck is the one that was associated with those feelings.
It makes sense.
Of course, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, you had, and that there was like a triangle pyramid.
Yeah, my purple pyramid. That's something I need to revisit. I needed to like let that sit for a little bit. There's a purple pyramid. Yeah, a pink snake that was very much associated with my ex. What else was with the pink snake? I actually have the art piece right here. There was like a horse that was deeply connected to like my relationship with one of my grandfathers, and that was like, I had a whole scene about me being on the horse and that kind of like being my life, and me being able to like trust like life to kind of go in the right direction. Yeah, there was a bunch of stuff. I'd have to like pull out, because every time I had this experience and I had like a specific like animal or shape or something kind of like stand out, I would paint it, and I would like paint it in watercolors so I could just kind of like remember what had happened. And that really helped me to kind of like, because I'm not good at journaling. I'm really bad at journaling. In fact, I had to get an app to start like journaling, and it has to be like for 5 minutes. I'm just not great at it.
I need that app.
Yeah, it's great. I'll talk to you a little bit about it more, but but yeah, so to kind of keep track of some of these events that happened in my brain, I would paint them. Actually, it's like 2 seconds. I can pull it up.
Yeah, you grab it, and I'll just speak to the symbolism a little bit, because what happens sometimes is we can get a little bit derailed by what's coming up. We can think, oh, I don't need to look at that memory. I don't need to look at that thought. That's just silly nonsense. A lot of people think dreams, oh, it's just day residue. It's just nonsense. Dreams are your subconscious trying to bring things up for you. Yes, it's sometimes day residue and we're just letting go of things, but especially repetitive dreams and symbology, seeing numbers, signs, it's nothing mystical. It's just your brain trying to speak to you.
Mm-hmm.
And some of us aren't good at hearing words, so we see symbols. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm sure there are a lot of, oh, yes,
this is it. I still need to add a few others. I've been meaning to like add like the horse, but this is my little black duck. Yeah. Look at that. It's so innocent. I wanted to make sure it looked so innocent because it's so malicious. But yeah, I had this triangle that had a lot of static in it, like TV static. That was a big one. The pink snake. And then like this little black pearl that was like a symbol for like my internalized fragility. Like I like feeling small, feeling like I could just be broken. There was, I'm trying to remember what the floppy disk was about. The floppy disk was a big one. And then there was a yellow cube and a blue Rubik's cube. And I remember the blue Rubik's cube was connected to some other past relationships as well. So yeah, this was kind of like my little, within those first like 3 months of doing this work, I was doing stuff like this. These days, my conversations with myself are a little bit different. Sometimes I'm speaking just like directly to like another version of myself. And I'm getting a little bit less of the symbolism, but it still comes up from time to time.
Yeah. Well, your relationship with yourself and with your mind has developed. You know, when we're children, when we're new, we don't have the language, the linguistics, we don't have that connection yet. And so we have to use symbols. And now that you've enriched that relationship with yourself, it probably goes much faster too, I'm betting.
It does. Yeah. I was managing some relationship anxiety. And it came up as just like another version of me, like a lawyer version of me was like fighting against me. And I was able to kind of like have a discussion rather than like, you know, trying to delve into these like deep mystical symbols or anything. We were able to just kind of like talk it out, hug about it, cry about it, and resolve it.
And let it go, resolve. That's such a nice, fun place to get to.
Yeah.
But the best part is it doesn't matter how it comes up, as long as you're willing to take a look at it and do the work, which you have. And I'm so proud of the progress that you've made. And I'm so excited about all that you're learning in linguistics. And now you have the richness of the understanding of the mind that you can pair with the linguistics. Now, I believe you said something about a podcast.
Yeah. So I do like science communication on the side, as well as being like a full-time student. It's just like a little hobby of mine. I'm obsessed with linguistics. I say that linguistics is the love of my life. If linguistics were a person, I would marry that person instantly. No questions asked. So I do have a podcast. It's called For the Love of Language. It's by me. Stacie the Linguist is my like online username. So you can find me anywhere as Stacie the Linguist, and my friend EJ, authentically EJ. You can find it on Apple, Spotify, and Google Podcasts right now. So feel free to check it out. It's pretty accessible. So it's not some of the big brain concepts that I've been talking about. It's a little more down to earth and relatable, and has like a lot of good introductions to some of the formalisms of linguistics without it being like abrasive or like, you know, we're trying to teach you. So, so I do that. You can also find me on twitch.tv/Stacie the Linguist, where I talk about linguistics from time to time. I'll do my homework. I'll stream myself like doing my homework. We're talking about like language problems or, you know, fun things that happen in linguistics. So that one's a little bit more free form, but the podcast is pretty accessible.
Well, that's exciting. I am definitely going to check it out, and I'm sure there's plenty of other people that will too. And while we're still on the linguist part, I just wanted to point out to everybody that might be weird enough to get into the chakras and all of that. I love that you have blue hair and
Right now.
your throat chakra,
Yeah.
and moving into your favorite colors go along with your profession and what you do and the things that are most important to you. And I think that's just so beautiful.
Yeah, right now I exist in a very blue green space. Like I moved into this room that's just covered with blue. Yeah, and my hair has just kind of stayed blue. Like the pink hasn't really been vibing with me as much, so we've just been doing the blue. And then a lot of my outfits and stuff will always have kind of like cool tones associated with them, like
your headphones,
my headphones, my mug, my like water bottle, my accessories in my room. Yeah,
which I think is fun. That I was surprised you said something about that. That's actually how did you put it? It's something that you're working on. You want the biggest place you do the work is in your throat chakra.
Oh yeah, no. So like I said, I've dabbled in energy work before, and I'm very much in touch with like my chakras, and whenever I do like chakra meditations, because I do have to do like a full meditation to really get there. Usually like up till I get to my heart's usually doing really pretty good, and then I usually have a hard time connecting with my throat chakra. That's the one that I have to like kind of work on and really like think about and meditate on. The energy kind of gets stuck there. So I that's where I kind of struggle, and that's where the color kind of helps too.
Which is so fun because most of us fall into a line of work that we most need. We teach what we need the most. And I think it's a fun subconscious. Now, this is just my belief. I think it's your subconscious saying, oh, you know how we can heal this? Let's dive into linguistics. Let's let this be your profession. Let's cover ourselves with blue and help with that balancing tone.
Yeah.
So many fun
things.
things.
Kind of fun. Yeah, it's just like a little fun thing to think about. And I get that a lot, where like if I'm like having like a bad day with one of my chakras, you can kind of like tell sometimes, or you're like, I'm not super grounded, so I might need to wear red, or like my heart's not feeling really good, I should wear green. I get that a lot.
that makes it works and it makes sense. Mm-hmm. So before I let you get back to your work, are there any parting words, advice? What do you want to share the world for the people who are working on improving themselves?
Yeah. I like to say this is like a linguistic principle that I stand by, and it's that you can do anything with practice. In linguistics, a lot of people think that they can't learn another language. And some people are really, really good at it. And I equate it to like playing the piano. Some people are really, really talented at it. They pick it up like that and they can just do it. Same with like learning languages. People can just pick up languages and just learn them. But that doesn't mean that you are incapable of doing so. The brain is a very fun plastic thing. And with enough practice, you can acquire a language, you can learn to play the piano, and you can learn how to self-hypnotize. This was something that came really naturally, really easily to me, and it might not come easily to others. But just like anything else in the world, if you take the time, if you take the practice, if you are really dedicated to it, it can happen for you. So if it doesn't come easy, that's okay. You got to just put in a little more practice and you'll get there, because you're human just like the rest of us. And if the rest of us can do it, you can do it.
Absolutely. I love that. And that's actually one of the rules of the mind, is that the more times you do something, the easier it gets. Surprise. Mm-hmm. So it is so true. And we want to get like, go back to 5 years old and stomp our feet. And it's like, I can't do it. Well, if you say you can't, linguistics, you're telling yourself you can't.
Yep.
So keep up the practice. I like that. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us.
Of
I know
course.
that it's precious and you're a busy, busy lady. I'm so excited to check out, what's the name of the podcast again?
For the Love of Language.
For the Love of Language with
Mm-hmm.
Stacie the Linguistics. Thank you so much for your time,
Thank you,
and
everyone.
have a wonderful blue day.